Islam was. Let's rise and let's start it up. Islam war. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love. Father of love. Truth. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. Allah, my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Dwali. Islam. Lord. Greetings. Our Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failing to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Dwali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Dwali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Dwali. Islam. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Dwali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Dwali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples, act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Dwali. Islam. Part of today's session was to go over the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. adopted by the Ninth International Conference of American States, Bogota, Colombia, 1948. So this is just some more articles that you could extract things from when you're making your challenges to those that aren't upholding the rights of the people, right? We know that we always use the UN declarations as a template. So this is just another one for us to um, learn from. Take this document, study this document as well, just like we do with the UN document, just like we do with the Constitution, just like we do with Articles of Confederation, different law documents. This is just another example of
law document, Constitution. I think it was Tuesday, so
yeah.
reading my Constitution on the lane. And this lawyer, she came up to me before she got out and she said, "Sir, I'm a liar. I don't even read the Constitution as much. But it's good to see you reading it.
Yeah.
You don't know about it."
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's what she said to me, and then she got out the chair.
Right.
She see the lawyer, and she said, "Man, I see you reading the Constitution."
Yeah. And just for the record, which Constitution were you reading?
The U.S.
Oh, okay.
US.
So if we're here, and then the lawyer from here is saying, "Oh, you're reading the Constitution. That's a good job that you're reading the Constitution." And she never brought up Constitution Act of Canada. She never brought up Charter of Rights and Freedoms. She never brought up anything that these people say is the Constitution. Then what's that term?
Of course.
Right? What does that let you know?
That I'm not American by it. No,
right.
I said I'm reading the Constitution.
Constitution, point blank. Right? Again, which is again why in the International Association of Chiefs of Police, their oath says enforcing and upholding the Constitution. It doesn't say Constitution Act, it doesn't say Constitution of Brazil, it doesn't say Constitution of anything else other than the Constitution. Now, once they're saying Constitution, they mean the original, the organic, the first Constitution that anybody recognizes as any type of constitutional document, and that's the United States Republic Constitution. Right? So this is from the Organization of American States, OAS, and it's the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. And again, you could just go pull this up and it's online. Whereas the American peoples have acknowledged the dignity of the individual and their national constitutions recognize that juridical and political institutions which regulate life in human society have as their principal aim and protection of the essential rights of man and the creation of circumstances that will permit him to achieve spiritual and material progress and attain happiness. The American people, right? The American peoples. And then we know Americans are the copper color who were in the Americas before Europeans came here. But we also know that nationality is the order of the day. So even though we know that we're American, make sure that we put Moorish on there, because we know that the American are the copper colored people, and colored means fake. Semblance, artificial. So yes, we're American because we are the copper colored people who were in this land before the Europeans came here. But if we know that us claiming color means that we're fake and all that stuff, and nobody said we're not black or colored.
Man. Yesterday, I went to the an African store in Beach, and I'm getting some raspberries from the African store. And I talking to the people, and the lady said something to me about nice, and I said, "Ma'am, no, that's not right. That's a good thing to say." And it seemed like her son was there too. I said, "What do you mean?" It's, I said, "No, Mom, it's not nice." Then I asked her about her country and the name. I think it was Nigeria on his call. What is it called now? Who- I forget what it's called now, but they changed it to name. I think it's Nigeria. And I said to her, "Where are the Moors?" The same one that was in Spain. And then another brother in there said, "Yeah, the Moors were in Spain before all these things happened over here." And they keep going on and on and on, telling, but they get what I'm saying. Then I asked her to Google the word nice. And she was there trying to get it. Then her son over there got it. And she said, "Mom, it means you're stupid or foolish." And they all surprised. And then she said, "Man, you're a man of knowledge." Because, just for the moment in the story, they all just,
Blown away.
yeah, blown away.
Yeah. And again too, like when you get these examples of people online and they're talking about, to be a Moor, you gotta go to court, and to be a Moor, you gotta be challenging the judge of to be a Moor, you gotta do all that. That's not what it's about. It's exactly about what Brother Noor said. About just being yourself in all your everyday activity. And then you being yourself is gonna
I'm on the middle of the road, not like a stop sign.
Yeah.
This morning, waiting to cross the street, away from the light. This Caucasian coming up, she stopped way down there and tell me, go. And I know because she see me the way I did.
Yeah.
She see my face. She said, "Go."
Yeah.
And I'm saying, "You come." She said, "No, you go." And I go across the street. There's no light there. I'm not supposed to cross it, but she stopped.
Yeah, stop.
Say, "Go."
To make sure you get
Making sure she make you go, because she want her blessing. I'm serving.
I'm serving, yeah.
God right now.
Yeah.
I'm serving God right now. Like, what? This man is wearing that hat? Like,
Yeah.
something good's gonna happen to me if I do something good.
Something for him. Yeah. Right. The American states have on repeated occasions recognized that the essential rights of man are not derived from the fact that he is a national of a certain state, but are based on attributes of his human personality. So when you have this, Moors have this attitude like, well, because I'm a Moor, you need to whatever. That's not how the rights are derived, right? It's a human trait to have rights. If you're a living entity, rights come with you being alive. Not because you're a Moor or Sri Lankan or whatever. Just the fact that you're living, the rights apply to you.
So it's like human rights.
Right. Because you're human. You have human rights. You're indigenous, you have indigenous rights. You're a child, you have child rights. You're American, you have a Declaration of Rights and duties of man.
That too is like falsehood and like the truth and falsehood straight.
Yes.
The whole claiming to be black and you want human rights thing.
And then keep in mind too that because majority of these places are republics, they know that it can't derive from the fact that he is a nation of a certain state, because some nationals are corporate And some states are corporate. And they deal with privileges. Rights don't even apply to certain states. Right? The international protection of the rights of man should be the principal guide of an evolving American law. That same thing with the train.
Mhm.
You read the Constitution, that's American law. That's not limited to just United States only or different jurisdictions. If you're in the Americas, then the Constitution is what you use to uphold the rights. The Constitution is what you use to say, CRA, you're trying to do whatever. Where in the Constitution does it say that you're allowed to do that? And then they have to answer. And if they don't answer, then obviously they're against the rights, they're for the privileges, they're for the serfdom, they're for the ward of the crown, they're for keeping the people in a dead status. The affirmation of essential human rights by the American states, together with the guarantees given by the internal regimes of the states, established the initial system of protection considered by the American states as being suited to the present social and juridical conditions, not without a recognition on their part that they should increasingly strengthen that system in the international field as conditions become more favorable. So they know that the place is going to hell. So 48, UN puts out their stuff. 48, OAS puts out their stuff. And it's supposed to be expressed so that the people could know what their rights are, so the people could stand on them, so that in the international field, conditions become more favorable. Because everybody's on this aspect of you can't violate children's rights. But how is it that they put out all these stuff to show rights of children? They're still talking about human trafficking in 2020.
Yeah. It's all an illusion.
Right.
A game.
How is it? Right? How is it that like we were talking about with the pipeline stuff?
Madness.
They're violating rights and whatever like that. People are standing up for them, whether they march, picket, shut down a railway, whatever, and stuff is still going on against people's rights. Obviously, something's wrong with the picture. Noble Drew Ali corrected what was wrong by letting us know that you have to have a nationality if you're talking about rights. You can't talk about rights and there's no nationality. As soon as there's no nationality, it's going right back to privileges, and you're in the same boat that you were just in, because now you're complaining that these people are violating your privileges, which privileges are allowed to be violated. Why are you complaining?
Privilege, something you gotta be careful with too, because it can be taken from you.
Exactly. Omar.
That's how you know what they're dealing with aren't rights and their privileges, because they're trying to take.
And rights
when
can be
they're
taken.
ready.
Privilege can be
So
taken.
we'll catch you guys up. Kuko and I were going on about this, and this is some of the stuff that we're around.
Yeah, that could be some of the discussion too with this whole thing.
Just so, to let you know, I think everyone's been up to date with, everyone's been up to date with what's going on, right? With these, what's their name again?
Whatever their name is, some Indian, whatever.
These people are who shut down the train line,
Yeah.
right?
Whatever their name.
Whoever they are,
What
right?
tribe they call
The
it.
position that I'm seeing is that these people are standing on their birthright, saying that we don't want you to run shit through our land. It's going to destroy our land. Now, the undercurrent to that is that there were deals that were signed, treaties that were signed, that allowed them then to allow the so-called Canada to do what they're doing. Then we had these elected officials that have said, okay, we're signing off on this with the pipeline. But then we have the natural people saying, no, we don't want this. So now there's this fight. So me and Cujo, I was into it with Cujo because I said to myself, look, 20 or 30 of these guys sat on a train line and they shut the whole Eastern Seaboard down. Yeah. You can't get an effing train between here and the East Coast. You can't do it. I'm telling you, the business is shut down now. If I was a little bit sick, so I was watching some of the news. And you have these Europeans going on about how we're not allowing them to do their shit. And I thought to myself, this is crazy. This shouldn't be a discussion. What discussion are you having here? This is our land. We don't want you putting some stuff through our land, right? So what I was saying to Cujo was that back in the day, I don't know if you guys have heard of Polka, and there was another one where certain Indians got shot.
Yes, I remember.
Right? Big, huge stuff. Well, since that stuff has happened now, back in the day, they just had some RCMP officers come in there, grab those people up, and business would go on as usual. Now, as things have evolved, I said, at least to me, it seems that, wait a minute, these people sat on a rail line and shut business down. Got them to have a meeting with the mayor of Indigenous Services, which I thought was interesting. Indigenous Services mayor came up to meet them.
Minister.
Mark Miller?
Yeah, minister.
Minister Mark, but I'm saying, I said to myself, we need to be at that kind of place. But what Cujo was saying, and then we had this big debate about the fact that, well, you're not even dealing with it, because these people, they're Indians, so they don't have rights.
No, I know.
So he's saying that. I said, well, whether they have rights or not, they shut me down. And then he said, well, how would you feel? Because they had these optics where you see the minister come out there in the cold and shaking hands and shit. And what he's saying to me, what if you knew that they had actually met the night before, maybe, in a building, and then that was just the optics of it? I said, that wouldn't matter to me, because at least we're sitting down with the guy, right? But what I'm saying is this is part of our stuff that we're looking at doing this here, that we need to start, as I said, whether they're de facto or not, you've got some non-indigenous Indians meeting with some de facto government. So you've got two illusions going on.
Yeah.
Right? But no matter what, if we're the indigenous, then we should be looking to be having some sit downs with these people. And if it's going to take us maybe, because you heard about another set of them sat up in front of Carolyn Bennett's office. I don't know if you saw that part, but another 50 of them or 20 of them sat outside of her office, have a sit down with her. But I'm saying that we need to start looking at some of our activity, I think, from that kind of level, if we're going to be looking to get some kind of different changes going on. So I'm just throwing that out to you guys to see, what you guys, because he was talking about that, what you guys think. But I think if we're going to want a different result, we're going to have to do different activity. And as I said, it seems to, I don't know what it seems it's right here. It seems to me, though, that people are willing to start meeting with some people. And I think that should be something that we should explore.
Right. So again, too, with regard to the thing, so we have to. It's going to be on everybody to take certain steps with regard to how are we going to approach them with regard to this thing. Is it going to be a thing where we say, okay, on one day we say, there's 20 of us and 2 people hit up every office, whether it's with Rick, whether it's with standing there, whether it's sit there in front of the door or whatever like that, until somebody, whatever it is, right? Because there has to be some type of dialogue. At the same time, it's not like we're having some preconceived notion about the dialogue, right? The whole point is just so that they can't say we didn't have a sit down with them, or we didn't go to their office, or we, just didn't do anything. Because we know that they're in a de facto position. We know that our position is really a threat to them. So them really sitting down with us like that is not really gonna, Like if it's something small, sure. But if it's big, on with regard to our rights, UN declarations, Organization of American States documents and things like that, they're gonna be very light when they walk with us, right? So these are all some of the things that we're talking about with regard to town hall and stuff like that. That we're meeting we're coming together, we're doing things, we have our barbecue, we have our certain things that we do every year, but there has to be a certain level of civic activity that we're also engaging in, along with the other things that we're automatically doing for the nation, right? So be aware of those things that are going to be happening or whatever like that. Because again, we use the quote from MHHS that the boat has left the dock. So if you're still on the shore, you're gonna have problems because we're you're swimming to catch up to where we're at eventually, right?
So and that's just sort of then to segue into the fact that there's obviously going to be a component of a class sort of environment in terms of a learning curve stuff, but for some of us, it's going to act, it's like sort of a speculative and operative side. There's going to have to be an operational side to this that is going to take place, and the expectation, if we're gonna segue into this at this point, we've got a Moorish school for the young ones. We've got the HUGs. We have the jurisprudence department, which is sort of. What are you guys doing for the nation? What are you guys doing?
But and it's a thing for it's a thing for thought for when we do get to that date of town hall, that it's going to be a request with regard to people who are involved. You know what I mean? What have you done? But because we're, Brother Yasunos mentioned this earlier, that because we're in the activity of always becoming, it's not just what have you done, but what are you planning to do for the nation, right? There's people who have already done things, right? But moving forward, where are we planning to go with regard to this information, with regard to the temple, with regard to the nation? Like Morris saying, now we have children's programs running that we would say school with regard to that. We have men's program, the HUGS program with regards to that. And then that's 3 days of the week. So about 4 days open that things could be going on. In order for us to, whether it's get the word out or be more active or whatever, there's always something that could be done.
And then there's even more time than that, because on those 3 days, we're not here 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to clarify that, but the event could still be happening on the same day. It's the activity. As I said, I've been quite shocked to see the fact that, within a couple of weeks, they had a meeting with this guy. We've been out there doing the works, and they're not even acknowledging we're here.
And it's like we're saying, if we said that, if we went and founded some black whatever, we would have the finance that they would give us our 2 million, no problem. Wouldn't be an issue. We know black guys who got 2 million already. So we know that it's accessible, right? The problem is what we're about is not in harmony with these people. And they're gonna take it like that, because they already know that as soon as we get to a certain level, it's over for them. We don't need them anymore.
That was their position on the UN strip, rights of indigenous people. When I was reading whatever came from them, what they said was kind of like, well, what about Canadian? They're basically saying, like, they're acknowledging that their thing falls apart because it's founded on piracy, fraud. So,
And again, it's only an issue because we're waking up. It's only because we're coming into who we are why things are an issue, right? Again, if we go back to the whole thing with this pipeline or whatever, they're saying that the pipeline itself is being built because these same indigenous people who are sitting on the tracks or whatever, their chiefs made a deal to build a pipeline.
But I made it clear that contract falls apart once it becomes unconscionable. Right?
Yes.
So the contract alone, or the treaty alone is broken, but then Kujo's rebuttal to that was, well, as an Indian, they don't have any rights anyways. So then they're trumped again. But then if that's the case, then the so-called Canadian government has no position.
But see, but the power to
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
the power to contract is on the indigenous, not the foreigner. So as soon as they came with their contract or their treaty or whatever, indigenous people should have been, hold the brakes. We're not doing any treaties with you because you're a foreigner. And the only treaty that means anything is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which was before anything with these Indians or whatever like that. And that should be the law that the Indians and the Ojibwe and the Métis and the Mohawk and the whoever is supposed to be holding these Europeans to. They're not supposed to be making some new treaty. And then when that treaty gets violated, now they're complaining about, oh, well, they violated the treaty and now we need to do this, we need to do that. No, you should have just held them to the original treaty in the first place. You wouldn't be in any issues right now.
When I was being given a runaround at this union hall, this electrical local union hall that I was at, I noticed there was a meeting going on with Ontario Labour Federation. So all the committees are there in a circle, setting their mics and talking about their reports as to what they've gotten so far, what blah blah blah, all that. There was one woman there. As soon as I got there, was when she just started speaking. She was representing the indigenous people out of that, and I made sure I got her contact information. I exchanged that information, and I sat down and had a talk with her before the meeting was done. She didn't participate in the rest of the meeting, but she was saying that when it comes to these chiefs and them signing these contracts for pipelines and all those things, she's like, these are not even really appointed by the people. She's like, what we have and how we operate is a matriarchy, and these chiefs are all men, and that it's the mothers of the communities and everything like that. Who, anytime a decision is made, we go and we have to sit down, and they're the ones who, if anybody's to speak for the community, then there's a mother who's appointed, who's then gonna speak, and then that's what happens. So the so-called chiefs are not representing at all the people.
Absolutely, but I mean, that's part of the whole thing that we're talking about anyway. They sold out too, right, on that level. And the issue is done through co-option, and as I see, when you see all the sound bites, half of them look European.
Yeah.
3/4 of them look European.
And not only that, they look European, but when you check their name, they're Francis and Jeffrey and whatever. Like how's somebody with a European name a chief of a tribe? And not only are they a chief, they're claiming that they're hereditary chief. If you're hereditary, then that means this is something that is supposed to be an inheritance. How are you inheriting under a name that's not your name and then claiming that you have rights of your ancestors? It's crazy. It's crazy.
And then she was saying that part of their issue too is she's like, whenever a meeting was held and they're calling a meeting with members of the tribe or whatever, she's like, well, one of her biggest issues was having people attend the meetings. And she's like, and remember the time when a decent number or whatever would show up, the majority of people are there to learn. They're not there to be active. Like they're behind. So instead of being active with the members that are there, she has to play the role of educating so that there's no activity. Like, oh, sounds, you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of the stuff, and just so we can stay on point, some of the stuff that I've been interested in, as I said, whether they're de facto or whatever, there's part of their organizational structure that still seems to be able to have certain people out on a train line, stopping some train going by. And that's some of the stuff that we'll have some of the food drives are alright, but when we've done our outreach stuff, 2 people show up. So I mean, it's the same problem, but I mean, we need to solve that problem. I mean, we know this, they created that jurisdiction so that they can rake the land and legally have someone sign off on it, right? And that's where it is. Obviously, they're suffering for that, they're suffering for their sins as well.
Right. And that's the whole thing with when they start doing the complaining about what Europeans doing and all that stuff, it's no different than the people who saying black. You're getting abused or whatever. It's probably because of what your status is, not because these people are evil and wicked and they're trying to take over the planet, Illuminati or whatever. It ain't nothing to do with that. That's to do with your status. And the longer time that your status is dead, the more power these people have, because they are leeches. They feed off of dead carcasses. They are vultures. They sit on the carcass and pick the carcass when it's dead. This is what they do.
Well, use the analogy of the Christmas tree thing too. I like that how the Christmas tree, how they cut it off and then they use it and decorate it.
Right.
Same thing, right?
But I just wanted to expand on one thing. It's funny that we talk about them, how they feed up the carcass. One of the things they also do is they kill you. Right? That's the first step. First of all, they kill you.
Yeah, they created that carcass for them.
Carcass, right? And that I think is what they did. They killed us by making us black. And then they've been feeding off of us. Right? So the tissue and the essence is still giving them energy, but the being is no longer alive.
Mm-hmm.
So we can look at that metaphorically as well. The death is in them calling us black.
Mm-hmm. Or Indian or indigenous or some
That's the spell
tribal,
that they've thrown on
some
you.
tribal name.
Once that's done, now they're feeding off.
American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man, Preamble. All men are born free and equal in dignity and in rights, and being endowed by nature with reason and conscience, they should conduct themselves as brothers one to another. So reason and conscience is a prerequisite for having rights applied to you. If you have no reason and you have no conscience, stop looking for rights. Right? If you have no reason, looking at your skin, know that you're brown, call yourself black. You have no reason. Knowing that this isn't India, we're calling yourself Indian. You have no reason. Knowing that that's wrong and still continuing to do it, you have no conscience. So when they do whatever it is that they're doing, always look at yourself from, did I exercise reason and conscience before these people did whatever they're doing? Was I exercising on my prerequisite or my preamble that I have to be in a certain character. I have to be exhibiting certain characteristics in order for certain things to apply to me. If we're doing things that are wayward, don't look for too much. Right? Again, with the thing of the pipeline, these people know that they're chiefs, just like what was saying, that they know that their chiefs sold them out. They know this. They know this to the point where they said, well, forget the chiefs. We're going to go for the hereditary chiefs and let them be the chiefs.
Well, what it was the hereditary chief, they didn't, like, who was sentencing or whatever, they didn't sign on to the
Right.
agreement.
Yeah.
They're saying they're like at disagreement within their
own little thing. No different than religiousized Moors and active Moors. And then everybody's looking at the religiousized Moors as the ones who have the authority in the Moorish movement, and they haven't done anything. These people shut down the school. These people not reading everything. We read every meeting. These people but they're still calling them Grand Whoever, Grand Supreme, and whatever like that. These people are doing madness with the birthright, and they're getting all the accolades of the movement. And then the people who've been doing this, Hakeems, Taj, Raz, all these people, they're fighting tooth and nail just to get around and do certain things. Right? While, indigenous guy has his little, we did this a few years ago. There was a Black History event or something. There was some event, but some Indian chief was there talking. Indian chief pulled up in the 700. They did the carpet, kicked the carpet. You know, I opened the door, chief came out, did their little walk and all that stuff like that. This is the chief, the top dog of the Indian whatever, coming in Benz with chauffeur and door opener guy. But people live on a reserve and nobody's not saying, hold on a second, how come these guys how come these guys have Benzes and stuff?
I'll tell you to live like in the old.
Yeah. Tell you, you know what I mean? Go fish and you know what I mean? Yeah, right? Passing with the 2 planes or whatever like that, and grandma's rolling to church, right? You know, they know what it is that they're doing. They know what has been done. But you know, just like with the Moors, it seems like the traitorous activity people get some type of blight because of something. When you know that they're traitors. You tell me that these people are really, like even with the thing of the minister, like we know that the Minister of Indigenous Affairs should be indigenous. Like why is the Minister of Indigenous Affairs a European? How?
Well,
right? Like obviously they're playing roles.
I don't think these chiefs, these so-called chiefs, who are not actually representing the people actually live on the reserve or anything like that. I don't understand why they're not like tied up and kept in a room. When it comes to time,
Simple as that.
They shouldn't be found when it comes time to time.
Simple as that.
You don't have to dead them, but
they're just you know, sew their mouth closed or whatever. Omar.
I was just going to say, I think the vision I have of it is, yeah, their minister can be European because he's their minister, but there should be at least a equal and as on the same footing government that the indigenous have that would sit side by side in a sense. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, if it's running de jour or whatever.
What we realize is
no different than U.S. when Noble Juali said, you know, you're gonna have an Asiatic president and a European vice president, and then they implemented that. That's right. To show that okay, yeah, you actually could do it like that once you have the ducks in a row.
Now the thing is, technically, that you would have to be indigenous, Asiatic,
right,
which is what. But the whole hiding behind that was to make him Barack Obama, to give him, you know, and that's where they all, who is this guy really?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure behind the scenes he's got a nationality card.
But most definitely.
On a certain level.
I definitely told him that he wasn't black.
Right, absolutely. We know that. Right. So as I said, I just keep looking at the fact that I think our time is now.
Yeah.
For our activity to. Because, you know, as I said, back in the day, they were shooting those Indians anytime.
Yeah. But again, too, like with regard to, you know, their engagement with the indigenous people. In this day and time right now, it's based in truth and reconciliation with the indigenous people. It's not because of some moral high ground that these people are on now. It's because they put out instruments to put up this front that they're for the rights of the indigenous people. So now it can't just be talk now.
Absolutely.
It has to be something shown now. So they're gonna send out the minister. They're gonna give proclamations and make it public, post them everywhere. They're gonna take the truth and reconciliation thing, print that out, post that everywhere so everybody knows or whatever. But
here's where I see the little bit of a subtle difference. The difference being is back in the day, it's still business as usual. We're gonna sign off on some shit and we're gonna do
whatever we do, regardless.
But here the difference is now because we can send something and some guy in Russia can get it in a minute.
Right.
Now
you can't hide.
Exactly. The same instruments that they've been using to keep a track on us, because that's what they needed to do. They're trying to get into our pockets and into our homes with all this technology. It's the same stuff that now has them accountable on a world level. So if you shoot someone down the street, you're not just getting your
Yeah,
Toronto
local,
You're
yeah,
getting international stuff.
yeah,
And so I think that's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
that's why they haven't been able to do the stuff they've done to these Indians,
Yeah.
so-called Indians now, because the Indians are probably posting real time, real
Yeah,
live
yeah,
right
yeah.
now, coming to us now.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They got real, like, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I think that's what I'm saying, that it's now time for us to really start, sort of switching, as you were saying, get pushing the boat offshore, right?
I think that's because their dysfunction is like more front page and obvious. Even though I would say like, our dysfunction is obvious too, but it really takes some, a mind thinking outside the box, because our disorder is a part of the program.
Right.
Our disorder is the norm. So their disorder is, drunken, drinking, like it's obvious, it's so bad. So your complaints are like nonstop.
So I think where Kudo is right, what he's talking about is they're getting a karmic
Return, yeah.
because of the fact that they signed off on the fraud. Remember, there's the position is that they met some people here. So either it's the truth about them meeting us here, or it's the lie about meeting them here. So those guys filled in. Really, they should have said, "Hey, we were here, but really, it's these guys who really are running the show." As you can see by all the statutes, they're the ones, right? But what happened was, taking their sellout, they're now getting that karmic flow back. But remember now, it gives them a little bit of a chance to speak up as people start to get conscious.
And then remember too that everybody who is in this jurisdiction of the Americas is either a foreigner or indigenous. Either foreigner or you're indigenous. If you're a foreigner, you shouldn't be talking about you have any type of control, power, influence or whatever. Should be nothing of the sort. You know what I mean?
Secondly, their whole, for example, the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, the European, and everything like that, that is their, that's doing what they said, or they're supposed to do, or they said they were gonna do without us, before us. So that's like a counter in a sense, right? So we're gonna do it on indigenous people, and then they're gonna front page, the people of indigenous people, like, so-called Native Indians or whatever, and be like, yeah, like the same way they have it, these are the indigenous people, and still let the black, Negro, colored thing go on. That's the big one. We have to be meeting them there. Like every single time they do something, it goes, no, here's we have this.
But again, part of that issue is that when we go there, we can't go there as blacks and talk about we're the indigenous people. So they're gonna look at us like, what are you guys talking about? You guys are black. You guys aren't indigenous. Which again goes back to us declaring nationality, proclaiming who we are, getting the word out so that these people could correct their status, and then they could have some force when they make these claims or whatever, right?
I'm gonna spend a little change just to print out like a couple hundred pieces of paper that shows, an old mech that says this is indigenous. And so at every bus stop, more season, they're like, what?
That looks like me.
What do you mean?
That looks like
I'm
me.
indigenous? Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is too, I've been having this discussion with my mom, who teaches Black history. We're in some big fights right now. But their argument is, this is the genealogy stuff. Well, I traced my roots back to Ghana.
Yes.
Some of you may come over here like that.
Which is cool.
And if that's what you want to claim, and that's what you want to connect to, I said, but even that argument falls apart, because when you go far enough back, we're all one landmass.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to talk about what's going on there, we still have to acknowledge that there were people here before the European came here.
Right.
People that look like us. And if there was even one person here before the European came here, then we have claim to this.
Yeah.
So, but part of it is the sorcery that is sort of, we're taking them, and there being some validity to the story, right? Which is the ounce of truth. It's needed for every life.
Yeah. So preamble once again. All men are born free. All men are born free and equal. And then for the mothers, don't forget, men means woman first, even though it says men there. All men are born free and equal in dignity, in rights, and being endowed by nature with reason and conscience, that they should conduct themselves as brothers one to another. The fulfillment of duty by each individual is a prerequisite to the rights of all. Rights and duties are interrelated in every social and political activity of man. While rights exalt individual liberty, duties express the dignity of that liberty. Right? And this is why Noble Juali gave us a chapter called Social Duties. He gave us something called social duties. Right? Because he knew that duties are tied to rights. If you're not handling your social duties, you don't even think about rights applying to you. Duties of a juridical nature presuppose others of a moral nature which support them in principle and constitute their basis. Inasmuch as spiritual development is the supreme end of human existence and the highest expression thereof, it is the duty of man to serve that end with all his strength and resources. Since culture is the highest social and historical expression of that spiritual development, it is the duty of man to preserve, practice, and foster culture by every means within his power. And since moral conduct constitutes the noblest flowering of culture, it is the duty of every man always to hold it in high respect. Social duties, good friends. So once we get to
Sorry, can I just?
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
What is that you're reading again? Is that the rights of man?
Yeah, duty,
The rights and
rights and duties of man. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, yeah?
All right. Holy instruction from the prophet, the social duties. When thou considerest thy wants, when thou beholdest thy imperfections, acknowledge his goodness, O son of humanity, who honor thee with humanity, and do thee with speech, and place thee in society, to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, protection from the injuries, thy enjoyments of the comforts and of pleasure of life. All these thou owest to the assistance of others, and couldst not enjoy but in the bands of society. It is thy duty, therefore, to be a friend to mankind, as it is thy interest that man should be friendly to thee. As he rose sweetness from his own nature, so the heart of a benevolent man produceth good works. He enjoyeth the ease and tranquility of his own breast, and rejoiceth in the happiness and prosperity of his neighbors. He opened not his ear unto slander. The faults and failings of men give a pain to his heart. His desire is to do good, and he researcheth out the occasions thereof. In removing the oppression of another, he relieveth himself. From the largeness of his mind, he comprehendeth in the wishes of happiness of all men. And from the generosity of his heart, he endeavoreth to promote it. Now, once again, we'll go to the preamble and then say if the preamble doesn't sound like what Noble Juali just laid down for the Moors. And if this is 48 and Noble Juali's 1920s, then how are we playing games like we don't know what's going on? All men are born free and equal in dignity and in rights, and in being endowed by nature with reason and conscience, they should conduct themselves as brothers one to another. The fulfillment of duty by each individual is a prerequisite to rights of all. Rights and duties are interrelated. In every social and political activity of man, while rights exalt individual liberty, duties express the dignity of that liberty. Duties of a juridical nature presuppose others of a moral nature which support them in principle and constitute their basis. Inasmuch as spiritual development is the supreme end of human existence and the highest expression thereof, it is the duty of man to serve that end with all his strength and resources. Since culture is in the highest social and historical expression of that spiritual development, it is the duty of man to preserve, practice, and foster culture by every means within his power. And since moral conduct constitutes the noblest flowering of culture, It is the duties of every man always to uphold it in its high respect. Chapter 1, Rights. Article 1. Every human being has the right to life, liberty, and security of his person. Right to life, liberty, and personal security. Article 2. All persons are equal before the law and have the rights and duties established in this declaration without distinction as to race, sex, language, creed, or any other factor. Right to equality before law. So what they have in this is they got the article, right? And then they have the right. Right? So say the article, whatever the article is, and then within the article, the right that's in there, they have it over here separate. Now, if this is talking about every person has whatever, and we know person is a corpse, no wonder they separate it. Because rights don't apply to persons. Rights only apply to people who have nationalities, people who have proper status. It's the only people that rights apply to. Right? So when you hear right to whatever after I read the article, right? That's the other side of the page. Right? Article 3. Every person has the right to freely profess a religious faith and to manifest and practice it both in public and in private. Right to religious freedom and worship. Article 4. Every person has the right to freedom of investigation of opinion and of the expression of dissemination of ideas by any medium whatsoever. Right to freedom of investigation, opinion, expression, and dissemination. Right now, even with regard to Article 4, with what we're doing, us doing research, finding out certain things, and then some ABC agencies want to try to tell you something. You have a right to investigate them. Are they legitimate? Are they talking in line with rights and duties of man? Or are they talking statutes, codes, ordinances, and the things that don't apply to the people? And if they're talking about the things that don't apply to the people, then they shouldn't be talking to the people. They should be finding their words to go talk. Because as soon as we say we're Moors or our nationality is, or I'm not a person or I'm not a straw man or whatever, that's supposed to put them in the position of, oh, sorry about that, didn't mean to bother you because obviously you're not one of our wards.
It's like you put that whole person thing in there to like leave it up to us to determine what qualification you are for the person. Like, are you natural? Like,
Yeah.
You're making you determine that.
Yeah.
I would say this. I would say that they didn't leave it up to us. I think what happened was this is where you can see the infiltration and the usurpation of us, the person, the natural person, by putting person in there. It's not to be left up to it. They were able to put this in there to muddy the waters. The corporation, that our lack of understanding that is what's gotten us into trouble. One of the maxims we know is ignorance of the law is no excuse. That's something that we have to continue to remember.
Because also too, that when I'm going through this right now.
Crazy. I read this a couple of years ago. This is some of the stuff that I got in Kudo onto, realizing that we're still playing these games. Like we still got these institutions that have written all about this. They keep putting the stuff out. Stuff keeps getting sort of manipulated. Right?
Now the most important of all these is the right to life, liberty, and personal security. And that applies to every human being, not every person. Then everything else applies to every person or all persons. Right? Which in Article 1, every human being, opposed to all the other ones that say all persons or every person. Right? Article 5, every person has the right to the protection of the law against abusive attacks upon his honor, his reputation, and his private and family life. right? Every person has the right to protection of the law against abusive attacks upon his honor, his reputation, and his private and family life. Right to protection of honor, personal reputation, and private and family life. Article 6. Every person has the right to establish a family, the basic element of society, and to receive protection thereof. Right to a family and to protect thereof. Article 7. All women during pregnancy and the nursing period and all children have the right to special protection, care, and aid. Right to protection for mothers and children. Article 8. Every person has the right to fix his residence within the territory of the state of which he is a national, to move about freely within such territory, and not to leave it except by his own will. Right to residence and movement. Article 9. Every person has the right to the inviolability of his home. Right to inviolability of the home. Article 10. Every person has the right to the inviolable and transmission of his correspondence. Right to the inviolability and transmission of correspondence. Article 11. Every person has the right to the preservation of his health through sanitary and social measures relating to food, clothing, housing, and medical care to the extent permitted by public and community resources. Right to preservation of health and to well-being. Article 12. Every person has the right to an education which should be based on the principles of liberty, morality, and human solidarity. Likewise, every person has the right to an education that will prepare him to attain a decent life, to raise his standard of living, and to be a useful member of society. The right to an education includes the right to equality of opportunity in every case, in accordance with natural talents, merit, and the desire to utilize the resources that the state or the community is in a position to provide. Every person has the right to receive free, at least a primary education. Right to education. Article 13. Every person has the right to take part in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to participate in the benefits that result from intellectual progress, especially scientific discoveries. He likewise has the right to the protection of his moral and material interests as regards to his inventions or any literary, scientific, or artistic works of which he is the author. Rights to the benefits of culture. Article 14. Every person has the right to work under proper conditions and to follow his vocation freely, insofar as existing conditions of employment permit. Right to work and to fair remuneration. Every person who works has the right to receive such remuneration as will, in proportion to his capacity and skill, ensure him a standard of suitable living for himself and for his family. Article 15. Every person has the right to leisure time, to wholesome recreation, and to the opportunity for advantageous use of his free time to his spiritual, cultural, and physical benefit. Right to leisure time and use thereof. Article 16. Every person has the right to social security, which will protect him from the consequences of unemployment, old age, and any disabilities arising from causes beyond his control that make it physically or mentally impossible for him to earn a living. Right to social security. Article 17. Oh, and then keep in mind that when they talk about the right to social security, they're not talking about that card that they give you, and then you can go get EI benefits or whatever like that. Right? That's the secondary. you automatically had that already. When we were in our own body of existence with our own people, we didn't have that card. We still had Social Security. We didn't have something from the European colonists in order to have Social Security in ancient days. All we did is support our own. The Social Security of old age meant that you're going to be taken care of by your family. Now they'll put you in some home or whatever like that in order so that you can be taken care of. Family's going to step up because in quote unquote old age, you already know what they did for you when you were a child. So you pay your dues back, right? Any disabilities arising from causes beyond his control. Same thing like when we're talking about polygamy and polyandry, and then people looking at that as some, male or female have more than one husband, more than wife, so that they can look like they're creating the black family or whatever, when those things only happened in ancient times because of something happening. Man dying, brother dying, so the brother has to now take care of the family and his brother's wife's family. If they got 20 children, now he's responsible for them. And it wasn't some, now I got 2 wives, so I'm the man or whatever, right? It was about making our conditions better, but doing it amongst ourselves, which is again the program that Noble Drawley brought back us the more live together. Why? So that if something goes down, you can call that more right over there. You don't need to be going calling somebody who's diverse to your nationality when you got problems or when you have issues. You should be directly calling your own. Article 17. Every person has the right to be recognized everywhere as a person having rights and obligations and to enjoy the basic civil rights. Right to recognition of juridical personality and civil rights. Now, we know that one's in question because they should be talking about common law rights or constitutional rights. So when they talk about civil rights, they're talking about some unconstitutional position, right? Dead position, right? Because there's no such thing as rights that are civil. Article 18, every person may resort to the courts to ensure respect for his legal rights. There should likewise be available to him a simple, brief procedure whereby the courts will protect him from acts of authority that, to his prejudice, violate any fundamental constitutional rights. Right to a fair trial. Right? Going back again to things that we're working on, where if there's any Moors that have had any type of issues with these tribunals, start getting your stuff together. Right? Whatever the situation was, make sure you have a cause of action. What happened? How it happened? When it happened? What the weather was like? Was there any impairment of the individuals in question? What rights were violated? Going through this, finding out if there's any rights in this that they violated, right? Article 19. Every person has the right to a nationality to which he is entitled by law and to change it if he so wishes for the nationality of any other country that is willing to grant it to him. Right to a nationality. And they're right in line with UN declarations of rights of a child, UN declaration rights of human beings, UN declaration indigenous rights, and then OAS is letting you know that even in the Americas, they have right to a nationality. And if they have a right to a nationality, if nationality applies at all times, then why is it always in denial? Why are people always trying to usurp it or trying to cut it off from our people?
When you're reading this, because I was reading an article yesterday about Bruce Golding, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Yeah.
He was going to he's the head of mission for the OAS. He's like the head guy for the OAS, and he's overseeing the guy he's elected.
The head of the OAS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's former Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Right.
So he's heading the mission over in Guyana.
Yeah.
On the election process, to make sure everything was
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, there's some right there. Brother Nor, Elder Nor, just turn that bottle on that thing right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Ship the whole thing.
Article 20. Every person having legal capacity is entitled to participate in the government of his country directly or through his representatives and to take part in popular elections, which shall be by secret ballot and shall be honest, periodic, and free. Right to vote and to participate in government. Article 11. Every person has the right to assemble peaceably with others in a formal public meeting or an informal gathering in connection with matters of common interest of any nature. Right to assembly. 22. Every person has the right to associate with others to promote, exercise, and protect his legitimate interests of a political, economic, religious, social, cultural, professional, labor union, or other nature. Right of association. 23. Every person has the right to own such private property as meets the essential needs of decent living and helps to maintain the dignity of the individual and of the home. Right to property. Right, and then so the only way that you have right to property is if the property is private. If the property is not private, then you don't have a right to it. Every person has the right to submit respectful petitions to any competent authority for reasons of either general or private interest, and the right to obtain a prompt decision thereon. Right to petition. 25. No person may be deprived of his liberty except in cases and according to the procedures established by pre-existing law. No person may be deprived of liberty or non-fulfillment of obligations of a purely civil character. Every individual who has been deprived of his liberty has the right to have the legality of his detention ascertained without delay by a court and the right to be tried without undue delay or otherwise to be released. He also has the right to humane treatment during the time he is in custody. Right of protection from arbitrary arrest. Article 26. Every accused person is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. Every person accused of an offense has the right to be given an impartial and public hearing and to be tried by courts previously established in accordance with pre-existing laws and do not receive cruel, infamous, or unusual punishment. Right to due process of law. So again, with regard to the one before it, that was talking about not being deprived of your right to humane treatment if they kidnap you or whatever like that, and that if
Forcibly confine me the way they did, as if I was guilty.
all that is violations of OAS. Every individual who has been deprived of his liberty has the right to have the legality of his detention ascertained without delay by a court, and the right to be tried without undue delay or otherwise be released. Once there's some type of delay,
Violation.
that's violation.
So for me to have to wait
And they
overnight
should-
till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow, it's violation. Right?
Send me on my way, I'll come back.
That's why they always try to make you within 24 hours go in front of a quote unquote JP or
Yeah,
judge or whatever, or else they'll be forced
24
to.
to 48 hours is
Yeah.
the longest that they can hold you.
Yeah.
Without visa.
And again, all that is under the grounds that we probably gave a license, or we probably gave a birth certificate,
They
or we
found
probably
out,
they found something in there that gives them
Well,
jurisdiction
Usually,
over the
usually that
individual.
alone is usually only to ascertain who you are. A lot of the times it will be, you might be in there telling them that you're someone other than who they can prove that you are. They will then take control of the entity to then say that they're ascertaining whether you belong to them or not. Right? You know, people give a false name, and then if they can't prove that, so that's what they have 24 to 48 hours to sort of figure that out. But like Yusun says, technically the very next day you're supposed to be in front of someone to be able to sort of habeas corpus and be able to then sort of get yourself under their control.
Habeas corpus.
so habeas to have, corpus is the body.
But
Habeas corpus is to have the body before you.
It's basically the principle that basically they're not entitled to have, but there has to be a speedy and a straightforward way of basically retaining your own property yourself.
corpus delicti,
A lack of a corpus.
so that if you're proved guilty and there's no corpse, then you shouldn't be guilty, because you need a injured party. You need somebody to say that guy did whatever. If camera said they saw you do something, and then you're going with the, oh yeah, camera saw me and whatever like that. You're, I mean, camera's a person.
There is lawful definition in the Black's Law though that discusses public property, using public property as that. I'll bring it.
As what?
I think I even put it in my definitions, because every now and then I always I write definitions under the Black's Law for that. I feel like I could use it for things. So I seen something like that in there where they could try to use public utility to use against you. Or something. So, but the issue is that's not our public. It's not.
Well, I think the issue before that is, first of all, where is the injured party? There'd have to be an injured party for there to be a crime.
Yeah.
If there's no injured party, then you're talking about some kind of civil suit. If it's anything over $20, then you're entitled to have a trial by jury. But then even before that, you would then want to say, well, what's your position on this? I'm Aboriginal Indigenous. So where do you have the right or authority to tell me anything? Because really what should be happening is he should then be calling a cujo, and then our muftis would be coming to get them if there was some kind of position like that. But ultimately still, all of this stuff has been so badly perverted that, you know, we're well down the stream. But those are your positions to fight. You have to first of all show me authority. And then ultimately at the end of the day, if they're still proceeding with it, from the perspective of you being the straw, then you're doing it to that license. You're not doing that to me. Here, that's who that is. Do that to the license. Lock the license up. Because that's not who I am.
Uh, 27.
How many articles are there?
Or 30, 38, 38. 27. Every person has the right, in case of pursuit not resulting from ordinary crimes, to seek and receive asylum in a foreign territory in accordance with the laws of each country and with international agreements. Right of asylum. Article 28. The rights of man are limited by the rights of others, by the security of all, and by the just demands of the general welfare and the advancement of democracy. Scopes of the rights of man. Scope of the rights of man. Right, so again, there's democracy in there. There's democracy in there. Rules of rule. When they talk about democracy. Chapter 2, duties. It is the duty of the individual to so conduct himself in relation to others that each and every one may fully form and develop his personality. Duties of society. Article 30. It is the duty of every person to aid, support, educate, and protect his minor children, and it is the duty of children to honor their parents always and to aid, support, and protect them when they need it. Duties toward children and parents. Article 31. It is the duty of every person to acquire at least an elementary education. Duty to receive instruction. Article 32. It is the duty of every person to vote in the popular elections of the country of which he is a national, when he is legally capable of doing so. Duty to vote. Article 33. It is the duty of every person to obey the law and other legitimate commands of the authorities of his country and those of the country in which he may be. Duty to obey the law. Article 34. It is the duty of every able-bodied person to render whatever civil and military service his country may require for its defense and preservation, and in case of public disaster to render such services as may be in his power. It is likewise his duty to hold any public office to which he may be elected by popular vote in the state of which he is a national. 35. It is the duty of every person to cooperate with the state and the community with respect to social security and welfare in accordance with his ability and with existing circumstances. Duties with respect to social security and welfare. Article 36. It is the duty of every person to pay the taxes established by law for the support of public services. Duty to pay taxes. Article 37. It is the duty of every person to work as far as capacity and possibilities permit in order to obtain the means of livelihood or the benefit of his community. Duty to work. Article 38. It is the duty of every person to refrain from taking part in political activities that, according to law, are reserved exclusively to the citizens of the state in which he is an alien. Duty to refrain from political activities in a foreign country. Right, so that's American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man, adopted by the 9th International Conference of American States, Bogota, Colombia, 1948. 48. peaceful. Any comments, questions, or anything else to throw out there? So we got rights and duties of man, UN declarations. This is OAS, UN declarations, UN/League of Nations, then United States Constitution. North America, which Canada Constitution Act, Charter of Rights. It's all under that. Right, so with these instruments, as far as the Americans are concerned, and don't forget these were signed off 2010, Barack and Stephen Harper. So international stuff, everybody knows about, they signed off on it. Organization of American States, 48, UN Declaration, 48. So it's an international thing that the rights and duties and the protection of these rights and the existence of these rights is something that has already been established. It's not even anything to argue. The only way that it would be argued, once you deal with people, de facto, possession, of sovereign power. And the only way they got the sovereign power is because we gave it up in order to be these people's property or war or get some benefits that we thought were benefits that weren't really benefits. It was to the detriment of the world. So now we have to backtrack through these and see what our rights are, because we took the position of giving up the sovereign power. And now that we're starting to find out about what rights are, the people that are in de facto possession of sovereign power start losing the sovereign power. And now they're just de facto. And once we get to the point of realizing for ourselves that they're de facto, then that's when they stop existing and we start existing for ourselves and being ourselves. And then everything that we do is going to benefit the nation. Just like with the Amish. They don't do stuff for anybody other than the Amish. Jews don't do stuff for anybody other than the Jews. They know this. And it's not a racist thing with them, and nobody's not looking at them as racist because they're looking out for their own. As soon as we start looking out for our own, they're looking at us as playing some racist game. Right? When the reality is that all that stuff is a game.
That card has to get squashed and thrown up fast.
Yeah.
There's only one race.
Quick fast.
That's what I'm saying. There's only one race, and your people descended
Yeah. Yeah. Brother Omar.
So I was just gonna say, this is, again, going online, who had said it before, for all of you that have gone through situations where there's been issues with them denationalizing you, and that comes from any position where you're in one of these tribunals and they're denying you your nationality. Those are the type of evidence that we're gonna want you guys to start to compile. Incidences, the times, if you have transcripts. Because as I said, we're looking to now take this to the international level. We're going to need all of those inputs. So if it hasn't been clear before, we're now asking for you guys to start to journal that stuff and get it into a cogent file that can then be entered into a class action lawsuit.
And again, a lot of it is because of this position that they take, de facto, right? That when, I don't know if it's still up there, but when you used to go to the Governor General's website, it'll say on there that Governor General is de facto head of state for Canada. If they're on their own website calling themselves de facto, if we go to their tribunal and they're calling it quasi, they themselves are calling it that, then they're letting us know what their position is. And then we can't be mute in our position if they're talking like this, that they're de facto. Right? But it's only gonna happen when we start moving in unit. Right? It's only gonna happen when we start moving in unit. We start moving on national principles with regard to whatever it is that we're dealing with. Because we know that as soon as we get off national principles, they're gonna invoke being de facto. And once they invoke being de facto, and we are not taking the position of what all these say, that we have a right to a nationality and can't be deprived of the nationality, then the land gets taken out of there, and then they have the sovereign power again. And the whole thing is trying to limit them using sovereign power from a de facto position. Right? Because they're using our sovereignty to be de facto, instead of using our sovereignty to be de jure. Whereas if they use our sovereignty to be de jure, then they're really giving the power to us. Right?
The way they're also using our sovereign power in a state of de facto is through a special type of government called interregnum. It's between the transition of two national governments, like, a father passes and then it goes to the next in line, or the queen passes and then it goes into the next in line. That period of transition, while they're making that decision, that's called interregnum, between two national governments. And that's where they're elongating it into a state of de facto power. So if we were to look up like the word interregnum in the Oxford dictionary, it will tell us it's a period between two sovereign national governments. And that's how they're playing it. So once we step up once more to our and act as heirs through their own confession and verbs and invocation, things will continue to pick up as long as we don't secede to any Constantinian order.
What's the term again?
Interregnum. That's one word. Inter and then RIgHtS.
Alright, so the way
Yeah, so like Nicene Constantinople Creed is often misnomered as Christianity. So as long as we don't put ourselves under Romans' brand, yeah, as long as exactly, right? Because they are, they have invaded our land and are doing their Inquisition operation. A lot of people that are also practicing their own niches, like the Amish and all this, the reason they're left alone is because they're still under the Constantinian protection. That's why they're not being invaded. And when they do, they at least have the back door to be like, hey, we're one of you guys. Like, we have ecclesiastical law, we're on the same side. Once we start practicing our ecclesiastical law and our, like the other laws as well, that would give us protection. But we are divided and unorganized. That's what we're saying. We need international recognition. Sorry, not international recognition. We need to organize ourselves and put it on an international venue. The problem is also with some of these venues is a lot of these venues aren't even nations that are observants. Like Canada is an observer in the UN, right? They're not an actual nation. If the coup d'etat happened in 1861 and that corporation collapsed into a new corporation, anything after that corporation, we connotatively call a treaty, but it's not really a treaty. Like the McDonald's can't have a treaty with Burger King, right? So when the United States had the quote unquote Treaty of Balfour to create Israel, that was a corporation creating another corporation. So we need to start like not giving them jurisdiction by saying the Treaty of Balfour. It's an accord. Maybe it's just a contract. Right? So we need to start like rephrasing certain things so we can put them on notice. Oh, you're talking about the Balfour event. Oh yeah, that's just a contract. It's not really a treaty between two nations. Right? So anything after that too, they might connotatively say Treaty of such and such, but there's no standing on it unless we give our invocation agreement to it.
I'd like to use the word inter-regalia. In English law, among these things belonging to the sovereign. Among these are rights of salmon fishing, mines of gold and silver forests, forfeitures, casualties of superiority, etc., which are called regalia minora and may be conveyed to the subject. The regalia majora include the several branches of the royal prerogative which are inseparable from the person of the sovereign. I have down here interregnum. A period when normal government is suspended, especially between successive reigns or reigns and regimes, an interval of between 2 periods of office or other things.
Read that one more time.
It's interregnum or interregnum. A period when normal government is suspended, especially between successive reigns or regimes. And another thing we have is an interval or pause between 2 periods of office or other things. So that's right after Lincoln. That's from Oxford. Right after Lincoln, there was interregnum.
Right after well, that's for their government, right? That was an interregnum because when they brought back Lincoln, that was under military like arms. When they brought back Congress and stuff, right? Hence the Act of Congress of '71. That was under threat and coercion, right? And so for them, that's when the republic is in interregnum because that's the Constitution and it's adjoining paperwork, adjoining measures like confederation and independence and all that stuff. So for them, they're also in interregnum. But ourselves, since the Moorish Empire and like those, that government also is also interregnum because we are not acting as heirs anymore. And so that by default also is an interregnum until we step up again and hold ourselves to our treaty with them, and they hold themselves to the treaty with us.
So hence, magistrate and subject. O thou the favorite of heaven, whom the Son of Man, thy equals have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and height of thy station. So the people are the sovereign, and then they give the government some of their sovereignty in order to exist. They can only do that if the people know that they're the government, because govern and meant is mind. The only governing of the mind is going to be done by the people. These people aren't going to govern the mind. They're going to try to corrupt the mind and make the mind everything that it's not, so they can have control over the body. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. So if the government could have you thinking that, you know, the Guinness virus or whatever like that, and then you're running for it, but then you're not going to stop drinking Corona, but you're worried about the Guinness virus, you have serious issues, right? Because they already know what they're doing, right? You had something, Omar?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the language though, that you use sort of betrays even our position. The sovereigns are here. We technically would be having someone within our body represent us and carry out those things. The government would be the servants of the people, right? Carrying out the infrastructure.
Right.
But in you saying that the government somehow is this different entity, to me betrays the fact that the so-called government really are a bunch of infiltrators who come in to sort of take over versus what true government would be, right?
Yeah, well, in this sense, the government isn't the people who we're seeing out there that we say the government.
Well,
Like
those people to me are infiltrators that shouldn't be.
Yeah, they're not.
But technically, the way they made it seem is like we elected these guys and
yeah, you voted for them,
right,
and then they took the
But
seat.
what we know is that
So
all the people that we're voting for are the enemy.
Yeah.
So you don't have any chance of getting anything de jure.
And then the only people who do have a chance are the people who put somebody in there.
Supposedly put someone in there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying none of those people.
But none of the people are
there.
right. Like speaking from the perspective of like the Punjabis.
Right.
They put somebody in there.
Yeah.
So they have representatives
absolutely.
in there that if they got an issue, they can call their boy. Their boy's gonna make his calls, and then all of a sudden there's
been an agreement to then have one of their people, our people, in there as a conduit,
as a representative,
even though it is the fact.
Right. And then even when we go back to Noble Drew Ali, they did the same thing with Oscar the Priest.
Right.
That they elected Oscar the Priest. And they sent the list out. They said, all right, Moors, we're gonna go to the ballot box. These are the people you're voting for. You're not voting for anybody else. We got how much ever 1,000 members. These are the names. Guarantee we vote for one of these people, we're in there. They voted for one of those people and then got in. But then they go around now, because remember, Noble Drew Ali transitioned, so now because he's not there, it's open reign. So now they start talking about Oscar the Priest is the first black congressman of Chicago and all this, when he was a member of Moorish Temple. They got pictures of Noble Drew Ali and Oscar the Priest together at the convention. So it's not like he didn't know what was up.
You mean the convention in Cuba?
In Chicago, the Moorish Temple convention. Right?
So you're saying at that point, once he's gone, then they basically co-opted it and made him black.
Right. Even though he was speaking to them from the perspective of making sure you enforce the Constitution. The Constitution should be taught in all schools, and all associations, and all organizations, and all trade unions, and everybody should be dealing with learning the Constitution, knowing the Constitution, etc. And as soon as Noble Drew Ali got out of the way, everybody forgot about constitutions. They start talking civil rights. They forgot about nationality. They start talking about it doesn't matter what you call yourself. You can call yourself whatever you want because we're the gods of the planet and all this stuff, which all that stuff is a fiction. And people, again, gave up their sovereignty to some people who are violators of sovereignty. And then they're complaining when they get violated, when they know who the enemy is. Right? And it's obvious who the enemy is. Right? Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, don't forget the Sikhs are showing up with daggers on the hip.
Yeah. Again, which is their constitutional right that
Constitution of India?
they went and fought for. Here, I'm here.
From the religious perspective, right? And the
Yeah.
nationality perspective.
That they have a religious right to that. They have a religious right to do that. Right? No, and they're gonna present it like it's a religious right to stay away from nationality. Because if they present it as a national right to do that, then they would be admitting that you would have to be a national to have stuff applied to you. And then that runs into problems because now, okay, so then if those guys have a national, not just religious right to have their dagger, and then their turban and all that stuff, and they don't need to wear a helmet on a bike because they wear a turban. And the turban protects your head better than a helmet. This is their argument when they went to Supreme Court. Really? That turban is more protective than a helmet.
You see more here.
And then you can't get a helmet over the turban, so, and you can't tell me take my turban off. So
leave me alone.
And they left them alone.
Because they're putting on a national, it would put so much power into the people by saying national. All the Hindustanis, you'd be like, oh,
too much.
We got the power.
Yeah.
So they keep it religious, and so one of the employers I was working for tried to say something about, oh, apparently they might try to make anything to do with religion at work illegal or something like that. Like, he was just playing it. 'Cause he's the one who was talking about, the Moorish in Spain and pretending like he doesn't know. But meanwhile, he admitted to me that he was paying a Moor there to go pray at the temple on Fridays. He to work a half a day on Fridays. He paid him for a full day.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling me this. You pay Muhammad. I don't have a problem with that. No problem with that.
Yeah.
On a certain level, there you should, from the perspective that it runs into the greasy area of them picking and choosing which things they honor.
What they want to honor or not honor.
Which is where it all runs into the problem to begin with.
Yeah.
What he's doing is he's showing that he's only basically respecting those who have knowledge. And also knowledge. He even started talking about slavery. And he's like, yeah, hold on, like, let's not talk about this here with this guy right here. And then I'm like, what do you mean? I already talked to him, like an American Moor. And I'm like, I've already told him. And then so he goes, oh, what's your last name? And then the guy says a name. He's like, well, where's that from? It sounds, what do you say, like Danish, or it sounds European, what you saying. And then the Moorish, like,
yeah.
And then he just kind of looked at me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna send a writ to you. I'm gonna get a writ from you soon. You let me go before you got a writ.
Right. Somebody brought up the concept of the Moorish market. So the Moors having their thing like other people have their stuff. Right? Where's the Moors version of whatever? Right? And one of the Moors in the chat was saying as well, you don't have the Moors thing because of the priorities being out of order. Right? Majority of the Moors have some type of obligation to this colonies. Some level, on some level, the colonists has their hand in our pocket. Right? Just because they can, not because of something lawful or whatever like that. They're just doing that. So when we look at things like Moorish business supposed to be for the Moors to get something out of it. But if the Moorish business is limited because of the amount of Moors, then it's going to be open to everybody. It's going to have to be open to everybody. It can't just be open to Moors only. because there's not enough Moors for us to have a Moorish hospital. There's not enough Moors for that.
For example, on Markham Road, which is just south of Steeles and north of Finch,
Yeah.
they have, I think it's like Sikhs or like Sri Lanka or Ceylonese, but once a year or whatever, so Hindustanis will get together and that whole strip there is like not caravan.
Yeah, but their own little
where they have a boat that's like, from that wall almost to this wall with the history 150 years ago, how there was 150 people that were on the boat and they still had a boat on the showing their history and stuff.
Yeah. And then now how much of them?
Lots of them.
But remember, they're not waking up people from civil death. All they're doing is tell their people, come over here. Oh, you're in whatever? Oh yeah, come over here, land of opportunity.
C24 shows up.
Right? They get their little photo ops or whatever. You know what I mean? Makes it appear like they're part of the fabric of the Canadian, whatever like that, and all that stuff. When that's not what it is. They're bringing Sri Lanka here. You know what I mean? That's why they got that joke with Bangladesh and all that for Brampton, because these people just got their people to come over here, and then now they're over here being what they should be over there. Because it's not their land, so they don't have any Punjabi sovereignty or anything like that they could really exercise here like that. They're only exercising that based on them taking their little whatever from Canada to be citizens, to be whatever like that. And again, put their little people in office, and once they get that far, they're pretty much in. And they're good to go. Nobody's not gonna tell them anything. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say that I think a big part of that, the whole issue behind that has been that what I've noticed is the way that America has made its wealth is actually sort of the obvious slavery, sort of having these people that have sort of acquiesced to being slaves. But in those other countries, nationality principles, through the caste system, they've done the same thing to their people in India, China, and those places. So they have the same sort of, it's the same situation, just a different name.
Yeah.
And what's happened now, I think, is that those people are slowly waking up. So what they've done is they're starting to now sort of send them over here, or there's been something behind the scenes that I'm sensing where, the doors are now being opened, right, to bring in some more slaves because ultimately our shit's falling apart, right? And the Europeans are sort of fragmenting out into the suburbs, and now we're it's sort of like an open. It's open season now.
They need a new nigger.
What I see them doing is I see them developing the suburbs or whatever, right? Like I was in San Francisco and I seen this guy buying like 2 or 3 motors. I'm like, what are you buying motors? He's like, oh, it's for the belt. You put soil on the belt and you run the soil up and drops it on the pile. And I'm like, they're just the farmers or whatever, or not farmers, but they're just construction guys. They're just developing the land.
One of the things I think I was going to say too, but one of the things that I think that they have, which is the advantage over us, is they have the concept of nationality. Whether it's overt or not, they still have an adherence to their nationality, which is the one missing thing for us.
I'm saying the colonists, the European, like they're the ones who have already got themselves in a position of benefiting off of the previous generation. So they keep mistreating and getting the land, developing it just so that they can continue the Babylonian-ness. And so then you get the foreign nationals coming over here who have what the European doesn't really have, which is the sense of nationality and actually the skills to use the land because they already come from nothing, and then they're playing the same game to colonize with colonizers. And like I was doing business for Hindustan the other day, and the way they're using their credit system is like it takes no time, like 2 years, 3 years, and they got a few $1 million, like nothing. 3 businesses, 3 restaurants, 4 Audis. Like I did out one car, I'm jumping in like all 2019 cars. These guys are just letting the car run, going to the restaurant, the car's running outside because they're the ones who's all in there. So it doesn't matter, they can get the car ready. It's just a tool, but they get to use the finance.
Well, they figured out how to be everywhere. It seems like the system. You know what I mean? Like they're everywhere. Like grocery store, lawyer, doctor.
But that comes into
IT techs, you know what I mean? So they're basically like insurance, like insurance for everything, like banks, like everything.
And that's their foreigner kickbacks.
Yeah, yes.
That
yes.
once they say I'm a citizen of whatever, they're gonna get their little tax benefits more than what anybody else is getting.
And the thing with the IT too that some guy from my work was saying is you could be an IT and use that certificate over here. Like if you get like an IT certificate in like India, you could come over here and get like a job and it's valid anybody.
Yeah,
So that comes a numbers thing. So that's how they're getting their numbers kind of, you know what I mean? Because they're like, I guess they'll send like for like a cousin or a brother, and then after that he'll come over here work for a few years and then
I'm working in this guy's house and then he's doing insurance working from home. But I don't hear him speaking English. Therefore, I know every person he's talking to is of his nation. He's ever turned out Bible or not? I don't know. Over here.
the more you like talk to like international people, you start to see like there's certain things that they know about our government that's like silent in the public that they can exercise, right? And our people, yeah, but it's more than kickbacks. It's more than kickbacks.
Well, to add on to combat what you're saying, kind of corrected. Like, our government is not Canadian government. But to say our government, the way they know our government is running is that we don't have government sort of setup. So they're like, yeah, they know they are, so we're just gonna keep using them. Oh yeah, hire that guy and he'll do it for cheap. Just offer him cash, and then he'll do it for cheap. That's how it keeps running. Like I go from job to job to job, word of mouth, but they're like hammering down my price. And it's like there's not much I can do because another foreign national will drag the price down. Yeah, they'll do it for cheaper. I mean, I know my quality of work is higher than their quality of work, but they come from a place where the standard of living is already low, so they don't care if it's a little.
Yeah.
It works. It's crazy.
There's a lot of competition to the point where like there's no way but to just get like smart.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can do it. You can only just get smart and like start to study. Like from what the Chinese say, they say that they study the colonizer to the point where like they know the weakness, they'll know the weak points, they'll know everything. Like just like on the body, they'll know like certain pressure points, So like these guys like they do a lot of things like like marriage rituals. They have certain marriage rituals that like in the public you would say is like illegal, but like it's something that's so taboo in their culture because they do that. You know what I mean? Like it's something that they've been practicing prior to what these guys do.
Not taboo. Well, the taboo is like not something that they practice often, not considered outside.
Oh,
It's customary.
Customary.
To us, it's taboo.
Yeah, to us, yeah.
But I think this the post like not graffiti, but like what I was saying, like I think that these images need to be placed before sleeping more, unconscious more, so that it keeps coming to they see it. They don't even have to see the word more because since more is so cloudy in their mind, they can just see themselves and indigenous. There should be no separation between them. It's not looking at somebody else that looks a little different from them as indigenous.
I feel like some of them know and they see, but like they're just not gonna like. It's like I don't know. They'll accept that they're Moors, but they're not gonna go out about it and be like, oh, I'm a Moor now, da da da. You know what I mean? Because some people go about it differently. You know what I mean? Like,
Because it requires responsibility.
yeah, and the second thing is they can feel embarrassed because the whole time it was right in front of their face. So think about it. It's like you with your mom and dad. Like your mom and dad have been telling you like certain things to watch out. You know what I mean? And you're like, Mom, I'm good. You know what I mean? Until you go through that same situation they've been telling you not to do. You want to bring it up and tell them that you went through it. You're just like, but when you do it, you get a satisfaction.
You're like, oh, so you see now, I've been telling you.
But some people, they don't even want to like show the reaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Realizing that they screwed up.
That's the ego.
Yeah.
Right. That's the importance of everybody who knows this or is on this level with this information that they tell somebody who doesn't know. Or quote unquote uplifting fallen humanity, taking it to the hedges and the highways, however you want to put it. You know what I mean? Just like Just like Noah brought 2 people today.
This is the brother to meet up the court.
Oh, with thing. Okay, all right, cool. It's
He's
law.
doing out in Spain, so
Yeah.
you don't know about what happened.
Right. You know, it's I don't know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to put those up. Mothers, if you have any questions. Yeah, whatever it is, doesn't have to be what we're talking about today or anything like that.
The OAS, can you like, do like a little breakdown of that, the OAS and what they are, 'cause, you know, Jamaica's a part of that, you know, just sort of on record, you know?
So just like the United Nations was created for the international communities to have somewhere else to go because of corrupt governments or whatever like that. Same thing with Organization of American States, but it's just limited to the Americas. So this doesn't include anybody outside of the Americas, right? So everybody who's Organization of American States has to be in the jurisdiction of the Americas. Now, when Castro was in power, he was fighting Canada and United States being part of the Organization of American States. Because his argument was that they're not a country. So why are they part of this? Good.
So like, you know, Castro, how you said that he was fighting against Canada and the United States, right?
Mhm.
And he was affiliated with one of the OAS states, right?
Right.
His correspondence with like United States and like America and Canada and stuff like that. Is it kind of like how like somebody that got deported or whatever who would not be able to like pass through? You get what I'm saying?
Well, it was only like when you look at the relationship that Canada and US have with whoever, it's most of the time it's based in colonization.
Yes.
Like it's not you know, they're a government and then those guys are a government and their relationship is we're coming to your place because you guys are savages or whatever, and we're coming to bring you the light of the democracy and whatever like that. Right?
And under the guise of Christianity as well.
Right. Where all these other nations know that that's BS because you guys are a commonwealth, you guys are a colony, you guys aren't a country.
So this is how
some Europeans.
This is how he's bringing it to the. I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's how he's bringing
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. That's how he's trying to bring it.
But he was bringing that to the Organization of American States. He wasn't talking to Canada.
Yeah, I understand.
He was talking to the Organization of American States, saying if we're the American states, why we have foreigners in our thing? Because we know that they're not a country of the Americans.
I'm saying he's only moving like that because of his altercation.
Right. Yeah.
Just like how we had our altercation.
Right. Yeah.
You already answered my question.
All right.
This is not a country anymore.
Right.
This is not That's America.
Right.
I So what I wanted to like guys like Castro, Marcus Garvey, and stuff like that, like the one thing that you could say that they all had in common was respect of they're keeping those colonies at bay while they're exercising.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Drawing attention to the fact that those entities are, you know, they're not doing stuff how it's supposed to be done.
Like Gaddafi.
Yeah. Same thing with Gaddafi. You know, and then they do their little things. For example, like US said, you know, we're gonna start up African country called Liberia. And then had quote unquote black guys think that, oh yeah, that's a country in Africa, we can go back to our homeland and all that stuff, when that's a corporation just like New York or whatever. And then everybody fell for that. The assumption that, oh yeah, that's a country in Africa.
Wasn't that
And that's not,
wasn't that the back to Africa thing? That
Yeah,
they
yeah,
dealt with?
yeah. And what,
And should have exposed to you that it was all
that's supposed to
because
open
you
you
were
up.
going back to your tribe.
You know what I mean?
You would have
That's
just been going back, because I'm part of the Ghanaians,
Right.
so I go back to Ghana. I'm part of the Nigerians.
Like, why does the US have to create a country there for you to go back to?
If that was my home.
Right? You should just be going back. Doesn't have to be a created country by some colonists in order to do that. You know?
That's the favorite word the European use against anybody who's not willing to go back.
Yeah,
But they're the ones who are.
yeah.
When you're in Europe, if you Spain or England, anywhere, that's the favorite word they use against you. Go back home.
Or when you're there, yeah.
If you're there, that's what they tell you. Go back home.
Yeah.
Go to your home.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then the ones here are telling them that your home is over there.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. Go to your home.
Everybody's lost. Everybody's walking in circles.
I think a mass, our media, our, I don't want to call it propaganda campaign, but I think like we should just be producing all of these images like nonstop. What just came to mind, I don't know if it's a good idea or anything like that, but it just popped into my mind of, a fessed up Moor standing on a Canadian flag. What does that mean? Like, it's just a corporation. Like it's like it's a Burger King rapper on the street. The Whopper rappers on the ground and I'm just stepping on it. Like, what's the difference? Does that mean I'm stepping on Burger King? It's just a corporation. But once the image is there, then the seed is planted, and then for those who are taking it the wrong direction, once they are encountering and discussing things with the conscious Moor, then they'll realize that it's not about aggression or not about like disrespect, like per se. It's just getting the right perspective and getting the right information to get in order. The natural order.
Questions, comments?
Regarding the colonization thing, the same guy that I spoke about the store.
Yeah.
The Gold Coast, they said it's gone.
Okay. Yeah.
Before they colonized.
That's what I heard from Ghana.
That's what they told me.
I have a friend who's Ghanaian. His name is Ofayao. Over here, his name is Ezekiel. That's what he said. Before colonizers came, they called it the Gold Coast.
And remember, it ain't like it was the people there that were calling it that. So the colonizers were saying that it's that because they found so much gold there. People there would never call it that because the gold there is a natural thing to them. You know what I mean? It's not something, oh wow, there's gold there or whatever like that. They're looking at that. That ain't nothing. You know what I mean? That ain't no big deal. It was only to the colonizers. And then the colonizers went there, built their little slave fortress or whatever. And then all these same Africans now using that slave fortress as some tourist stuff instead of burning that thing down.
Yeah.
Have people go in there, go feel the energy of what it felt like to be a slave in the dungeon and all this. When that's perpetuating the myth. That's given the colonization power. Because they should be trying to get rid of anything that has to do with colonization, not prop it up, not make it be a tourist attraction, right? Giving validity to the fake thing. Because just like the brother's saying, if we go over there and they're saying, hey, what are you doing here? Same like they did with Malcolm X or whatever. What are you doing here? You're not from here. You should go back home. So if they're saying that, but then people over here are saying, well, nah, you're not from here. You came from over there on a ship and all this type of stuff or whatever. Somebody's playing games. And obviously it's the people over here that are playing around. Europeans and Asiatics included that perpetuated that myth because all of them know, our ancestors had our own ships and came over here. You know, European to bring us over here on a ship. We're the founders of ships and somebody put us on a ship and brought us here, and then that's the reality that we're going with. It can't work, which is why it's never worked.
But one of the other things that I was thinking about, and I was having this discussion with my mom, about the fact that even if you want to go with their position that they brought us over here, even if you want to take that as the position, it's high time that this shit needs to go away. You know what I mean? The continued abuses that they mete out on us from a perspective that somehow that we somehow still should be beholden to some incident that happened and that we shouldn't have rights. And so when you start breaking that down, you realize that all other countries had slavery. All these other countries, the Chinese were slaves, the Japanese were slaves, the Taiwanese were slaves.
They're not talking about their slaves today.
Right?
Guarantee they're not talking about their slaves today.
So that's how you know that something is unique to us.
With that story,
That they have to continue to keep this story going. And you notice it. I noticed the same thing with this Jewish Auschwitz thing. They keep pushing. Every year we got to remember this stuff. Right? Every year, people dying all the time. Yet we got to remember something that happened 80 years ago. To keep some kind of thing. And then we start breaking down what they were really fighting. You realize that what they were really fighting against is nationality. Because what was going on in Germany. They were nationalizing. Right?
Another thing too, which is going back to Africa, that's something we're talking about in the story, guys. Are you gonna come back with say your name Smith? No Africans over here. Are you gonna go back with that name? Nobody gonna recognize you if you're from there. Who's good? You can't go back with that name. So you're gonna go back. You got so confused.
But you know the argument that the European gave us their name and all that type of, that the victim mentality. That again, once you take a certain role, and then you start perpetuating that on other people, they're not dealing with you. It's nothing personal. They're just not gonna deal with you because they deal with people who got rights and who have a certain level of knowledge and who have who are conscious of certain things. If you're serf, if you're a slave, if you're whatever, they're not going to deal with you like that, which is why when they come over here, they're already told before they get here, when you get here, don't talk with the local people. Just put up a store in their neighborhood and they're going to make you rich because they don't support their own. But anything foreign, they'll support that. Every day, all day. Doesn't even matter. They can have their own barbershop on every corner. And that's all that they'll do. They'll support those. But let somebody open a supermarket, or they're not supporting that. Let somebody open a school, or they're not supporting that. They then go to the European school because that's free. And their people are saying $600 a month. Well, that's too much. You're my brother and all this stuff. Why are you charging me and all that? You had some more, Mark?
Well, the school thing is one thing. The other thing that I started to find, and I have started to have issues with this, is that the very people that that they know what's really up, they're really about keeping you in that same spot too. The same Chinese and same Indian, still really about keeping you black,
keeping you the consumer,
right? And then not only that, not acknowledging what it is that gives them the power, and what they've been sort of what's allowing them to sort of sport around here in that kind of realm while still sort of being who they are. They're absolutely not about the righteousness behind this at all.
And
that's the problem. We're calling them our brothers, but really it's their activity that's proving that they're not being very brotherly. You should go into all of those stores. Once you let them know who you are, you should be the red carpet rolled out for you. Right?
But then again, there's situations where like Brother Yusuf that we were talking about earlier. He's in Springfield, Massachusetts. Where he lives, there's an Arab store. Where when he was a black guy living in this neighborhood, the store always been there. They dealt with him like a black guy. As soon as he said I'm a Moor, start wearing his fez and his turban and stuff like that, he can go with stuff, he can pull stuff off the shelf, walk out the store. They don't care. Because they recognize that he knows who he is. Not only that he knows who he is, but he's being who he is. And they can't even argue it. They can't even argue it. They're not even trying to make an argument for it. He could walk in the store and he could pull stuff off the shelf, fill up a bag, and walk out the store. Pay later. Don't worry about it, because, like you say, because those are our brothers. That's our brother Yusuf. You know, and if he goes in there without his feather turban, they rip him to shreds. He goes in there without his national headdress. They be on him. Hey, where's your feather? Where's your turban? How come you're not wearing your stuff? Make him have to go home, get his stuff to come back to the store. Right? Because they're looking at it on that level. That's how they look at it with us exercising it. Right? Because remember that everybody's waiting for us. The whole world's waiting for us. But if we're playing around like we don't know, then what do they care? They're not interested in anything we have to say or do or express or whatever. Because they know it's not coming from a genuine place, it's coming from a place of you're somebody's nigger. You don't need to hear anything that you're saying. You know?
The Hindus too, they're not onto that.
Yeah.
Like, one of their stories, knowing who you are, Like, you have a $50 bill, you don't have to change, you don't worry about it, bro. You come back, it's all over.
Yeah.
It's all knowing who you are, it really matters.
Yep.
100%. Whether it be turban on or fez on, just know who you are, and just love it.
Right. And again too with the whole the idea of looking at them and looking at us, right? They even though they were under colonization, they always called themselves what their ancient forefathers were. You talk to them today and you say Hindustani, they know what you're talking about. You say Ceylonese, they know what you're talking about. Even though they were colonized and called Indian, if you bring up their free name that had nothing to do with Europeans, they know exactly what you're talking about. So you come to us, everybody's somebody, some Sumerian or whatever. We're some ancient Babylonian whatever. We're some, you know what I mean? We came from the stars. We came from all over the place. You will know that we don't know what's up as soon as we start talking like that. They automatically know what's up. And again, our biggest problem is these colonists who have people on our side with them, right? And they're just siphoning off the energy to keep up the fight. And then our people who are the sellouts, they don't realize that that's what's going on. That they should get out of that sellout position and get down with what they should be down with. Because the sellout is, like they say in King Alfred plan, if you have any type of black guy in leadership, if this race or whatever stuff kicks off, all those black guys losing their head.
Yeah, they call him when I'm putting in a special place.
Simple, quick, fast. Quick, fast. You know what I mean? And it's gonna come back to the people again, fending for themselves again, which you should have been doing anyways, since this is the position that we're in.
You've noticed how people that so-called highwaymen,
Yeah.
so-called black guys,
Yeah.
they have special place for them.
Oh yeah.
But they know they could use weapons. So as soon as they kick off, they're gonna take them to
Right.
special.
Take their guns from them and then put them in some camp.
They're gonna call them in too.
Yeah. Everybody. Anybody. Yep. Anybody who's a threat. They have a place for those people. You know what I mean? So again, it's us getting to that place where the ones who are in the know are working together. The ones who do have their faculties straight, neural pathways are connecting and all that stuff, they know who they are, that we're working on stuff in the meantime. Because it's not like we need 50 million to do what we have to get done. We can do what we have to get done with the numbers that we have. And then the ones who don't know, they better get on board. Because the boat has left the dock. We're gonna do what we're gonna do regardless, because we know that this is where it's at and this is what works. Those who aren't on it and they're not on it, and whatever. They'll find out when whatever hits their fan that where they should have been. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna let you know, like, yet again, because we're in this place, we're in a recession right now. No one knows that. They just said on the news today that 35,000 businesses closed down last year. They said they haven't seen numbers like that since 10 years ago. I'm telling more that, I mean, we're noticing it. It's not getting easier economically for it.
Yes.
Well, the whole trade thing too, right? Now, stop everything.
Well, yeah, that to me is still a lot of, like, you know, who's got to be convinced that's all for optics. I mean, I'm convinced it's huge, but I'm just saying just the very nature of the business behind the scenes. Everyone's sort of starting up a business, getting their stuff done. They're showing you, if you haven't seen it, food's going up, houses are going up by 10% every year. Your wages, you're barely able. When was the last time you got a raise?
Wages ain't going up.
You know, every year you're going up 2.5 to 3% in terms of that. They're calling that what the rate of inflation. That's not even inclusive of how much food is going up,
Yeah.
how much
How
place is going
How
up,
much phones are going
how
up?
much all this stuff. It's happening. They're squeezing us out.
Yep. Right. Yeah, which again is the call again for unity. The call for unity, for us to look within, right? Not that, you know, because again, when you look at the Jews, everything comes into them from somewhere else. They don't go to their own to support there. They go out there, get whatever, and then bring it back in. They don't just send everything out to everybody. Whatever they have to provide, they're providing it to the world, but they're not giving anything back to the world. Everything's staying in-house, right? Everything's staying in-house so that they can handle their own affairs. Same thing with stuff that you're dealing with. You know,
They live in a
it
type
should
of
be.
community inside certain groups.
No, go ahead, bro.
I have a friend, Juice. He just came from Israel, okay? I was talking to him last week. They live so well that they live in a type of community, let's say we live in this community here.
Right.
And they have free food, free house, free electricity, free everything just because you work for the community.
Yeah.
They live so well that they have a company from outside, like you said, bringing millions of dollars inside to just these communities.
Yeah.
Forget about the next
Forget about everybody else. Yeah.
Okay. Forget about the neighborhood next.
Yeah.
The next community. But they organize everything so well. In a way, they are taking over the land, which is not their land. Killing, flying three planes a day for 24 hours. Have cameras everywhere, watching everybody around Israel, because they say they are defended.
Yeah.
I know defended, they're attacking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
I know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
In a way, I know how they're doing it. What I don't understand is how we left them.
Yeah.
This is what I don't really understand. How we, all of us, not just us, everybody.
Yeah. Like when even if you look at Israel, you know that's Palestine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. Now,
This is
you know, they have always active. They have doctrine of discovery. Wherever they land, that's theirs.
Yeah, this guy's from Argentina.
That's just
This guy's from Argentina. His father's from Poland.
yeah.
And original from Israel, how come?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And he's white.
Yeah.
Black Jews, they cannot live together.
Yeah, they don't have any type of power whatsoever.
They don't live together. White Jews and black Jews and Arabic inside Israel, they don't live together.
So weird.
Yeah, but to me, it's no different than what's happened here.
Yeah, same
So if you
thing.
really wanna know, it's buying from a bunch of guns at a certain point, killing off a certain amount of people, and then getting to educating the brain.
Or miseducating.
Well,
Yeah, miseducating so that the people think that that's Israel.
Absolutely.
And then the more that they say it's Israel, the more power these people have.
Just like Canada.
The more that they say, oh yeah, Canada, United States, instead of Morocco, the more power these people have. You know what I mean? Because they're a power. The power that they have is based on energy, but it's mental power. It's people projecting something into the universe and then them living off that projection. When we start projecting the right things, then they cease to exist. If we start saying this is Morocco instead of saying this is Canada and the United States, Canada and the United States would not exist. You know what I mean? They start saying Palestine, 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 ancient Palestine, Palestine, the Jews from Palestine, the Jews from Palestine. These people would immediately lose their power.
It's like that movie World War Z when you saw the zombies piling up to climb over the wall. It's like it's the CN Tower is a repeater. All you need is a signal that false information. You go to the CN Tower and then the CN Tower resonates.
Resonates that.
When it goes on the other side of the wall and everybody just pile it up and then that first person that go over the wall is an infection. As soon as that person gets infected, everybody's infected.
Yeah. You know exactly what they're doing. Any last questions before we close out, or comments?
Just, we're going to Ottawa next Saturday for all those, I think the flyers been sent out. Having our vernal equinox in Montreal on the 21st. These ceremonies on the gate, we're going to start looking at having people make sure that hopefully they try and attend to continue to strengthen our culture. So we got Ottawa next week, and we are going to be what is it? Moorish history?
Yeah, correcting black history.
Correcting the misnomer of black history, and for combating misinformation.
And before we go, we just want to give some honors to the Moors that are assisting in getting our Saturday session, our Saturday children's classes starting up. So we want to give honors to that, as well as the men's group that we have every Thursday or every other Thursday, 7 p.m. But Yasoon has a men's program called Hugs, so that the men could get together, figure out whatever they got to figure out. Right? Going straight up to me. Right?
Just all in light of an expanded direction that we're going to be going this year. We feel, at least I think some of us feel, that we've done enough work trying to get to wake people up. We now need to sort of switch gears a bit, start to look at cleaning some of the path that we're going to look to walk into. We consider ourselves like the Rangers. We're going to create that path that hopefully the people behind us can follow. So we're going to start looking to try, and as I said, getting some of our complaints and our petitions together, as well as really starting to do some outreach work. This is with possibly the municipal levels, the provincial levels, the federal levels.
Yeah, not outreach as in getting the word out. Outreach as in meeting with whoever's claiming to be
this morning
some type of authority.
You guys have heard about the train the Indians that stopped the train. Yeah, the same people that stopped this train and have stopped anyone being able to go east or west or anyone coming back and forth on this line. They're able. That's why. But I'm saying, but then the optics go, was back and forth on us. But I said, look, they had the minister show up right there, right? He's saying that there's a lot of optics to that, but I'm still saying we should be having a meeting with the minister. That's the level that we need to be at, should be at, and are going to be at. That's going to take maybe standing out on a railway, No, I'm saying though, but I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I'm saying not the literal standing out on the railway, but the figurative. Maybe take that kind of energy to start to have these people.
To get some
Maybe,
acknowledgement
they had
or
another set
whatever.
of people that went in front of Carolyn Bennett's office, and they sat up there and sort of blocked her door. Maybe that's where we need to go.
Not gonna go into yourself back in.
But the thing is, what you're noticing, this is what we started talking about this morning. Back in the day, they used to be shooting these Indians down, right? Now, because of the public stuff, it's not really happening like that anymore, because I think that there's a certain level of at least awareness now that's out there. You can't be claiming to be about some human rights shit and then shooting people down who you then have said are Aboriginal Indigenous, right? They're caught between a rock and a hard place, because they're claiming these people to be the natives. Well, you know that the natives really then are de facto, but they gotta give someone some sovereignty, because that's the sovereignty that they're basing their sovereignty on.
Yeah.
Right? But then, behind the scenes, they're not really giving them anything, because those people sold out.
Right.
But on an international level now, then people are gonna say, well, what, like, our friend Lucille was saying, what treaties are you then claiming that you have any right to even be here?
Right.
With? So they're kind of stuck, right? So as I say, it's time for us to start to make this, that to me was a sign that hopefully they're not about shooting people down in the streets anymore.
Yeah.
And that we should
Hopefully those days are over and things are evolving to.
Well, they always have that one guy.
Oh yeah.
You know that, but it's on the payroll.
Trigger happy.
Right? I have one friend that's like a part of like the Canadian Force or whatever you call it. And they do a lot of raids on like the reserves up north and stuff like that. On the reserve, yeah. They do a lot of raids. It's like the reserve is like back home, like basically like the Maroons are not allowed to go in. I mean, the Maroons are allowed to be there, but like certain people are allowed to be there.
Right.
Same with like in Guyana, like like in the jungle, they're not allowed to, like certain people are not allowed to be in there, you know?
So therefore, there's no witnesses.
Yeah, exactly. So people are allowed to, you know what I mean? Like, so like a lot of people don't understand that the army is like people that kill our national heroes.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Not like Canada's job is to separate it. You feel what I'm saying? From you understanding that the guys that are rocking the FBI shirts and coming over,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Are the same guys that you went to school with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about it, yeah.
And then once that person really gets to you, then that you have a mental breakdown. Because you're like, well, I've been killing my brother, I killed my classmate, I didn't kill you. They have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
They just throw them off somewhere.
Or they don't, and they keep carrying on. They keep carrying on with their practicing. You know.
It's just something that well, it's like when you think of Tupac talks about like military stuff and like, you know what I mean? You listen to like the way
Money for war, but
yeah,
for war.
yeah. He talks about a lot of stuff.
Right. Big head.
Islam, Morris. Give thanks for your time. Once again, next week we're going to be in Ottawa next Saturday. Oh, question? Sure, go ahead. Prayer? Of course you can do the prayer. Let's go. Great question. Great question. He's downstairs. So yeah, go call your bro. So give thanks to everybody being here today. On the way. Yes, loud like the playground.
Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide,
Islam. Islam.
Once we get this knowledge, it's over. Islam, boys. Peace and love.